Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and welcome to Overwatch Central. Today I want to talk about what's going on with Ashe. She has been in competitive for 6 weeks now. We did a bit of a catch up about a week into competitive, but of course a lot could change in that time. Also in that time we have had changes to McCree, and I wanted to have a look at him, Soldier 76, and also Pharah to see how those changes did make an impact that you can see in trends when you look at overbuff. In my own personal experience, I'd say that Ashe is one of the second or third most played DPS heroes in my game over the last 6 weeks, I'd say, because Genji is one of the most played heroes at my games at least, and then also Doomfist before he was really nerfed and not played as much anymore. So I did want to have a look at the DPS options and see where they lay. For this video, I actually wanted to get some good Ashe gameplay considering I'm still in Yorkshire and it's very difficult for me to play any form of aim hero in Overwatch on my mum's old desk. So in the background we have Tavik gameplay from a recent stream. You can check out all of these details in the description below. When Ashe came into competitive on the 28th of November, around the start of December is where she hit her peak at around 5.81%. That doesn't seem like a lot, but if you look at the pick rate of heroes this month, that's around the same point that D.Va's in currently. And we all know how, decent D.Va is in a lot of cases. Universally always going to be a pretty good pick rate. So that provides a little bit of context of the peak that Ashe hit. But over time, you're starting to see that popularity dwindle. Not a massive amount, we're not looking at Toby and rework here, but we're certainly seeing a hero that's going down and down in popularity. You can see some peaks and troughs, but they're very minor. It's just that negative trend as you go towards the 1st of January. Of course, this may change in a couple of days since we recorded this video, but it goes down to around 3.5%, almost 4% in some cases, which leaves her just below Zenyatta, who again is also a very good pick, right? So things are still pretty good for Ashe. As I said, this is more of just a review of how she is 6 weeks on into competitive. I'd still say that she's a good shout, but the other cowboy has sort of spoke up and wanted to share his piece. And this is where I find things get really interesting and fun. We have McCree's pick right here, who before Ashe was added into competitive was about 4.14%. Before Ashe was added, McCree was the second most popular DPS across all of the tiers. Again, I don't just want to look at what the pros are doing or Grandmaster players. This includes bronze, silver players too, because I feel that it really shines the light on the whole community, right? Looking at all of these stats too. So yeah, Genji is the most popular DPS hero, then it was McCree, Hanzo, so on and so forth. But now if we look at McCree's pick rate when Ashe was added into the game, you can see it drop pretty significantly. And of course this was a big discussion when Ashe came out. How is she going to fare against McCree? Isn't she just a better version of the cowboy? It seemed to be the case of people wanting to try out the new hero at the expense of playing McCree. Fairly straightforward interaction, right? But then of course you get to the middle of December and that's where McCree made a bit of a comeback. Why is that? Well, of course we had the big patch from the Winter Wonderland. This included some changes to Bastion, the Brigitte nerfs, the Doomfist nerfs, and also a buff to McCree. His fan hammer damage was increased from 45 per bullet to 55, which in the eyes was a pretty big buff. We of course saw players like Taimu really making a use of just pressing right click and getting the picks as he meant to. But generally the community was like, these changes are really good, and I have seen people in comments saying that McCree is incredibly powerful right now, maybe even a little bit too strong. I haven't really experienced an awful amount of McCree myself to say that these changes are really prominent. But when it comes to that topic, I do want to hear what you guys have to say in the comments below. So then we get to the change to McCree, and we can see that his pick rate is basically gone back up to where it used to be before. You can't really see the impact on Ashe, for example. You can see roughly where it came in, but there wasn't enough of a dip to really suggest that Ashe's pick rate was now at the expense of McCree. But now McCree's pick rate is just shy of where it used to be before Ashe was added into the game. It has dropped a little bit at the start of Season 14, and Ashe is at a little bit of a rise, but that might be just the start of a season, people going, oh, this season I want to dedicate to playing a bit more Ashe. And certainly since I've done a couple of my placements, not many, about 5 at this point, a good portion of my games have had Ashe in them over McCree. So it boils down to Ashe basically having a bit of a difficult launch. She came into the game pretty strong, she's had a lot of effect on other heroes, which we'll go over in a second, but when you have your almost main competitor of a DPS character buff in such a strong way in the first 4 or 5 weeks of you being in the game, you expect that pick rate to completely drop after these changes to McCree. And especially seeing as Ashe doesn't offer anything majorly new to the table in comparison to some other heroes that we've had in the past. It'd be easy to assume that Ashe just wasn't going to be a good hero in this meta at all, especially with, again, Goat's comp. But I think Ashe is definitely a dark horse when it comes to the topic of the best hero added into the game. It is a bit of a meme at this point where I say, oh yeah, the latest hero is the best hero to be added into the game. But I think Ashe does need a bit of recognition with how Blizzard have gone about her. She isn't completely crazy like Doomfist or Wrecking Ball in that sense. She is a nice straightforward FPS character, and she's sat into the game perfectly nicely. She's not broken, she's not OP, you can play her, you can get good use out of her, but she of course still has her flaws that can be countered to make her life a bit more difficult. But I also really have to give praise to how Blizzard immediately tried to solve the issue with McCree. They didn't just want Ashe to come into the game and have McCree completely dwindle in popularity. I'm 100% sure that if these changes didn't go in, we would see McCree's pick rate drop to an absolute low. But not only have these recent buffs to McCree kept him in the race, they've also brought him back to a position where he was before. Now McCree and Ashe are like completely in competition to having a DPS slot on their team. If we look at stats from this week, they're only separated by 0.3% when it comes to popularity, which isn't a lot. And it's certainly a case of these buffs looking OP on paper, but when you're looking at pick rate and win rate, it hasn't made a dramatic difference to the hero. We highlighted Pharah in another video, and I just wanted to sort of highlight it again now that we know when Ashe was added into competitive and when the McCree buffs came in. You can see it here, her pick rate was about 2.4% and then it drops to about 1.9, so not a big drop, but you can constantly see it going down, dipping again when the McCree buffs come in, and she started season 14 at an all-time low over the past 3 months. But it's not all good for all of the hit scans. Soldier 76, for example, is having a pretty torrid time. Again, a mild drop when Ashe is added into the game, not as bad as it was for McCree, and then an even more mild drop when McCree got buffed. Soldier has had buffs in the past that have seemed to make him a little bit stronger when it comes to having tighter spread, but ultimately it doesn't feel like it's made as much of a difference as Blizzard may have hoped. He, as well, is at an all-time low over the past 3 months when it comes to pick rate. Even over 6 months, you can see that it's just on its way down. So it goes to show that Blizzard can balance two heroes that are in, really close competition for doing the same exact thing, really, and they can leave another hero completely to the wayside. So unfortunately, if you're a Soldier 76 player, it's a bit of a rough time in comparison to playing Ashe or McCree. But as I said, this is just a bit of a recap of where Ashe is at the moment, what is going on with her, where she sort of stands after all of these changes to McCree and the game as a whole. I don't play an awful lot of the hero. I'm not confident with my DPS heroes anyway, but I'm really happy with how she's sat into the game. She's not really invasive or oppressive. She's just a nice DPS hero that can get a lot of effective use out of those that could use her. If you want to learn and play her more, then now is definitely the time. But I do want to hear what you guys think of Ashe, the state of her, whether you play her a lot, whether you think she's rubbish. Do let me know in the comments below. It'd be nice to hear from you. And until next time, take care. We'll see you then.